Okay, so back to you, Charles.
Yeah, so as Victor mentioned, we have the UPW Mastermind Facebook group, and then on top of that, there were the individual UPW Mastermind groups, and I've got them labeled A, B, C, and D. We'll be looking at obviously renaming them to something a little sexier and a little bit spicier once the groups are formed, and the groups themselves can actually do that process rather than me assigning a name. You guys can create that name for yourselves. But on top of the survey that Victor's talking about, that's in the UPW Mastermind link, the other one is the doodle.com scheduling tab, because we need to find out when you're available and make sure that we can slot you into the right group times. Otherwise, it's going to be tough to schedule calls if you're not available. So those are the two steps: is fill out the survey, and then step 2 is go to doodle.com. The link is in the Facebook group, and fill out your availability. And once that's done, I can finalize your process. So, and of course, there's a few people who are in the group but aren't aware. So what I would suggest too is, the more people that participate in the Facebook group, and if you know of members that are part of the Facebook group that haven't yet got involved, and you're friends of them, by all means reach out to them, mention what's going on with the call and what the process is, and let's try and get them involved as well. The more people we can get involved, the more dynamic we can make this group. So does that sound like something we can all aspire for?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. So I think that really takes care for the administrative portion. And like I said, today's phone call is really just the final large group call while we're finalizing the individual groups. So the format's a little bit different than normal. But what we'll do is we're going to basically switch gears now and get into the actual meat and bones of a mastermind call. And I think Victor posted the other day about his wins for the week, and I've seen quite a few other people post their wins for the week. So what I would suggest, if you haven't had a chance yet and are still able to do so, by all means go to the Facebook group after we get off this phone call. We want to stay focused on this call, but after the call ends, go to the Facebook group and post your wins, whether they're large wins, small wins, or mediums, or just anything that you want to share, just to celebrate your successes. And with that being said, I'd like to just turn it over to the group and find out who has any obstacle, milestone, or challenge that they'd like to bring up and discuss with the group. So I think we're ready for that portion. So is there anyone that would like to bring something up? Who'd like to go first?
Hi, this is Ratish out of Chicago.
Good morning.
Paul. Good morning. So I'm not really sure, to expect or how the format goes. I joined a few minutes late, but I think, I really didn't know much about Anthony Robbins' material, and it kind of went to UPW blind, and, was more than pleasantly surprised at everything I learned and the context made. Well, once I got back home, the biggest kind of issue is that it's almost too much information, almost information overflow, and I haven't found, I guess, almost like a cheat sheet or a way to integrate everything he said into an ideal day so that you can keep gaining momentum and keep improving. I did sign up for coaching through Anthony Robbins' group directly, so I'll probably start fairly soon, and I have Ultimate Edge, and I owned, I've purchased one more CD packaging. It's Ultimate Living or something like that. It's also on its way. So I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on how to integrate like the temptations and everything. Right now I prime every day. I join as many Inspire calls as I can, and then I network here in Chicago with some of the things that are going on as well. Kind of I guess that's a main question. I know it's kind of high level, but I'm kind of curious what other people are doing to get an idea of what to do myself.
Well, and I think that's a great question. It's Charles here, because we oftentimes get overloaded with a lot of information, and the question is always, how do we get started? What's that first step? And one of the interesting tools that I found really useful within the UPW event, and I'm sure a lot of others probably felt the same way, was that wheel where there was, I think it was 8 different areas of life, with spirituality, with the health, with the relationships, with the finances, and we basically rated them on a scale as to how well we were doing. And one of the things that I've done from that is actually build out, what are the individual goals within those categories that I'd like to achieve and work towards, but then focus on just one primary area that allows me to focus on so that I can actually start moving forward. What were the other thoughts in the group?
So what was the question? Like, what did I put down on the lower side?
Well, it wasn't as much as a question as to, do you remember that exercise we did in the UPW event?
Correct. You have to do it again for the life coaching section as well. Yep. So, I remember what was good, and obviously, like, what was my lower side at the work on.
Yeah, it's Victor here. One thought along the lines of what Charles is talking about is this idea of focus. And in order to be successful at anything, it's obviously very difficult to change multiple things simultaneously and feel like you're making significant progress. So, one of the things that I always keep in mind when I hear the word focus, I can't remember who said it, if it was Donald Trump or Robert Kiyosaki, but one of those two basically said that focus is an acronym, and it stands for follow one course until successful. So
I love that.
Yeah, it's very helpful. And it's stated another way: if you chase 2 rabbits, you catch neither of them. And so often it's better, even though you may have multiple objectives, to really focus on one thing, mastering that one thing before you turn your sights to a second and a third and a fourth. And Tony talked about that in the session in Chicago, where he said, pick one area, and chances are, if you pick an area that has a common base, that the other areas will magically improve without you expending conscious effort or energy on the other areas. And I've actually found that to be true in my own life.
And this is Christy. I'm a new caller on the group, and I have to say I found that to be true in my life as well. And the one word that I have for myself this year, ironically, is what you're talking about, which is focus. And just a quick little potentially an update, because I said something on the Facebook page, but I've been focused on getting healthy and of just rocking my health and making great weight reduction. And so now that is going well and it's become like a habit, and really was a complete shift in my identity. Tony talks about how when you have your identity, you'll do whatever it is to protect that. And like most people are not thief thieves, right? You're like, oh, no, I would never steal, because your identity is you're not a thief type of thing. And so now my identity is I am healthy, lean, fit, strong, sexy, and then the results and actions just kind of come from that. And now that I have followed that on course, like you were mentioning, I'm working on passion in my relationship, and I can put focus on that. And I think it's going to be easier because who I'm becoming, being a fit person, it's like you learn new patterns and new ways of thinking, and those methodologies can apply to other areas, even though it's a different subject. So it happens quicker, is what I'm surmising.
That's awesome.
Can I interject from there?
Of course.
What Christy said. This is Michelle, and I don't didn't hear the name of who started the conversation, but this was my second event. I went my first time in February, so I started to get overwhelmed, and the Facebook group kind of got me through, and I saw other people taking action, but I didn't really know what to do. So I was kind of spinning my wheels, and then eventually I just started honing in on two things. I started my morning priming, that exercise that we did with the breathing and the gratitude, the healing, and then the goals for the day, or, the 3 goals. So that's what I started with, and it was like a baby step compared to others, but I could do it, and I made that a habit. Then I went into the food aspect, and, I wasn't going to do crazy, I wasn't planning on doing a crazy overhaul, but little by little, in the past 6 months, I have gone very, very clean eating, with the exception of my cheat day or even a week, whatever. So those are my 2 starting points, and now that I have them solidified, now I'm going on to, say, a different level of an exercise goal or whatever, but you just add on. But that, to me, the priming and the food were easy things I could wrap my head around, and with those 2 things, I found I kept my energy high to do my day's task, or, to do whatever I had to do for that day. So those are my starting points in that.
That's awesome.
If that helps you at all.
I'm sorry to interject here. We've got a lot of background noise on the call, so if you're not speaking, if you could please mute your line. Much better. Thank you so much. Thank you for that comment and insight. That's excellent. That's excellent. Anyone else have something they'd like to share on this topic?
Okay, so was that helpful? What are your takeaways from what people shared?
I think it's good. It seems like I'm doing a lot of what people are saying because, I'm already priming. I'm attending these different calls. That's helping. I have a habit of trying to do too much at once. I'm multitasking doesn't work, right? So the focus thing is a common theme, so that makes sense. I guess the only part I'm still not clear on is what else I should be doing throughout the day. Obviously, we talked about nutrition, so I get that portion. I guess the incantations was what I really didn't get. I didn't really save one or use one and really know when to use it and how to use it. But maybe that's one thing I could use some clarity on, and maybe the other tips that I should kind of add into my daily routine is, I think, probably the last piece I maybe could use some help with. If that makes sense.
Sorry, so you were saying that you're having a bit of a challenge with the incantation?
I haven't even really used it or attempted to use it or found one that works, or I guess I don't really understand what's behind it, using it or when to use it. So, is it basically you find one of the examples Tony had, or you find your own, which is a reflection of your goals, and then repeat it to yourself throughout the day? I mean, is it really that simple?
Yeah, there's a bit of a process here. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's pretty much like you said. It's simply programming or conditioning yourself with certain messages that you repeat to yourself. But you can't just do it by rote, where you're simply going, "Oh, I'm gonna be wealthy and live on a sailboat," and you can't do it with that kind of energy. You really have to say it to yourself in a very convincing manner. And the other thing that I found, and this is just my own personal experience, is using one that I've created for myself is far more powerful than simply plagiarizing one that someone else has come up with, whether it's Tony or anyone else, is to make it more personal, because then it's really yours and you're invested in it, as opposed to simply reciting something that someone else has said.
Yeah, and it's Charles here again. One of the easiest ways to actually create an incantation that empowers you and actually works in that capacity is to basically look at what are the specific results you want. So if you have something to do with health, or you have something to do with finances, you have something to do with relationships, and you have those different goal areas, and you want to have a different incantation to help you in that different area, so you can have a couple different incantations. It's actually look back and look in your past and find a time that you, let's say in the area of health and fitness, a time that you felt really alive, vibrant, energetic, whether it's a time you went for an amazing hike, or whether it's a time that you had a good jog, or you had a good workout, or some kind of memory that you had in the past that was very positive and uplifting, that you felt in very strong state. And to actually write down the key words, like how did you feel in that moment? And those are the words you have to come up with yourself. So for me, it would be, I felt energized, athletic, strong, fit, healthy, confident, and I started choosing those words. And those words obviously resonate with me and have a very specific meaning. So what that allows me to do is basically form an incantation using those words in that type of a situation. So when I'm looking to, have a workout, it allows me to create an incantation, or, prior to doing a workout, to say, I am fit, strong, healthy, vibrant, energetic, confident, capable, and capable to overcome this obstacle and push myself to achieve greater success and feel great about myself and feel energized through the process. Because those are words that were true for me in one moment in time, and those are words that obviously resonated with me, that have a lot more meaning than, like Victor said, if I were to just take words from somebody else. But the nice thing about it is it was actually true at one moment in time. That's actually how I felt while working out. And we all have moments when we're in a relationship, whether it's with a significant other or with a family member or a friend, where we felt, a certain way and really good about relationships, and we were in our element. And by drawing on that experiencing, forming an incantation that we can use, allows us to draw on a past experience that's a positive memory that will energize us and charge us through the process.
Yeah, and hey, this is Christy again. I can share a little bit of incantations because I've been doing two different versions, which has completely shifted my life. And I'll talk about the health. And so I'm 55 pounds less than I was, and I used to be somebody, what I really wanted was, that pizza, but I'm going to eat vegetables or something. And now, because of incantations, I am some of the same things: strong, fit, lean, confident, sexy, those kind of things. The pizza just isn't as much of a draw to me because it's not who I am. I've been reading this book called Think and Grow Rich, and I'm part of a Facebook group with that. And in there is another notion of incantations where they talk about the definite major purpose statement. And it's what has been said, where you have a goal and you write that goal out into the future, like a year, but you use the present tense language. And what's interesting, so I have a goal with physical, I have a goal with my marriage, having passion in that marriage, and in business. And what's kind of funny, and so every day, and I say it multiple times, I am earning in excess of blank a year. I am number one in my company. I'm 200% of my quotas, that kind of thing. And I came into a company where there was this shift. It was like a pile crap. The shift happened. The business was down 50%. Just trying to get to 100 or 110 would be monumental, much less 200%. I just looked at the report today, and I'm tracking at 200% this month. So this incantation is these statements of who you are right now. So I say I'm focused, disciplined, organized. I pre-plan my day in advance. I actually suck at all of those things, but I'm saying them, and sooner or later my subconscious is going to get that's who I am, and I'm going to start doing those things. And it's been really powerful. So that's my 2 cents to add.
I think that's fantastic. Let me ask this question. I think a lot of people struggle with, and I know even I do as well. For example, this week I had a terrible week in terms of achieving some of the objectives that I had set for the week. And while I posted some pretty significant wins, and I had a good week from a wins perspective, I actually fell quite far short of achieving my objectives. And one of my objectives was, in fact, to say incantations. And I didn't do it this week, and it actually felt terrible. So, oftentimes it's not just knowing what to do, it's actually the doing. Because, Tony said, knowing something in your head is not enough. You don't really know it until you do it. So the question I would pose to the group is, how are you doing with holding yourselves accountable? And how's that going? And what strategies have you come up with for meeting your own objectives that you're set for yourselves?
Well, okay, I'll jump in again. So, so with regards to reading my definite major purpose statement, i.e., my incantation, I am a part of this group where everybody says how many they're doing a day, and so it's a little bit like peer pressure, where these people are saying, yeah, I've said 10 of them a day and 20 a day, and I'm like, yeah, I haven't even said one. And so it was kind of, something just popped into my head this week where, because I had that same struggle, what you just described, where I wasn't making myself act. And something just snapped with me where it was like, enough is enough. This is a tool that's going to help me be my best self, the 2-millimeter shift, the, stand up, shake your booty, that kind of thing. And I think I just got sick and tired of not doing it, and the combination of seeing people on this Facebook group doing it. And it's like, damn it, I'm better than this. And so that was one thing. And then the other thing is, like, if you think about the fire walk, the fire walk really needed, in my opinion, all three components to be successful. And one of those was what you say, like your language. So if you think about these coals are freaking hot, you're going to freaking burn your feet type of thing, because that's the language, hot, cold type of thing. So when I wasn't acting on the incantation or my self-love exercise or doing I'm trying to get a morning ritual, I didn't beat myself up about it. It was like I would do an incantation, maybe one in the middle of the day instead of in the morning type of thing. So giving myself, I guess I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth, because on the one hand I said that's enough, and just I knew do better and just effing do it. And then the other is, it's not about perfection. If I try to be perfect with my diet, I'm going to screw it up. So it's like, hey, am I making progress? Am I moving forward? So it's kind of maybe being the good cop, bad cop to your own psyche.
Those are great insights.
And so perhaps on this mastermind Facebook group, if there was something that resonated with several of the people, I see that you have the wins. Maybe there's a chat thread, which could be a little pain in the butt, but it's like, what's the one thing you want to nail this week? And then every day, everybody just says how they're doing on that one thing. And let's say yours is incantations and you haven't done it, and everybody's freaking doing their one thing. You're like, okay, damn it, I want to play along, I want to belong. Then I do my incantation. So there's a way of using the group to help. All it is a muscle, and help develop that muscle.
That's awesome. Very good insights.
Mm-hmm. Very, very good.
Hello, Victor. This is Aida. I think yours was a question. as far as holding ourselves accountable, what I do and what I've done for many years, for that matter, is that I do make a small list, not 10 things or whatnot, knowing how my day will go. And usually I also start by planning the week, just for the major topics that I want to cover for the week, the major objectives. And I break it down in small tasks every week, say, for example, 5 objectives for the day. 2 of them are personal, and the 3 of them are work-related. At the end of the day, I write down what I accomplished. It doesn't have to be anything major or whatnot, but I do write down whether I completed everything that I did in my list. I do not beat myself up if I did not complete a task, because things happen during the day, so I allow time for flexibility. And then if it is an objective that I had set out in the morning where I wanted that to be completed and I did not complete it, then I put it on the next task, or if it allows me for time to complete it still within the day while before I go to bed, then I do that. So, and that's how I measure progress. And usually I also write down the 3 things that I did. I think Tony mentions this in one of his tapes or whatnot, but write down 3 things that you completed and then move on to the next. And as far as incantations, I've not used them. I've used them only in times of when I needed to really push myself, knowing that, okay, I need to get this done or that done, kind of like a team cheering for themselves. You know, okay, let's get it done. We're going to win it. That's that. But I mean, generally, in terms of holding ourselves accountable or myself accountable, that is what I do. That's that. That's my input. Thank you.
That's awesome. And any other thoughts? One of the things that I've been doing for some time now, I actually have an accountability coach, and I've actually got a call with him at noon today, and I'm kind of dreading the call because I know there's a bunch of stuff that I said last week I was going to do that I didn't, and I believe that, well, today's already a better day, and I know next week will be a better week. Sometimes, you know, life gets in the way, and priorities overtake other people's priorities overtake your own priorities at times, and I certainly found that to be my experience from time to time, and I let the urgent overtake the things that, you know, don't have a particular deadline or particular expiry date associated with them, preempt the things that I hold important. And I think it's a perennial challenge that probably most people deal with. So I've found working with an accountability coach to be very, very, very helpful. In fact, with my accountability coach, one of the things that we are doing together is Tony's Personal Power series throughout the entire month of August. So each day doing one segment of it. And we text each other at the end of the day to confirm that we in fact got it done.
I love that. I love that.
Any other thoughts on this part?
Yeah, this is Ratisha. Just thanks for everyone's comments. Has been incredibly helpful. I don't want to get that lost in all the conversation, but thanks so much.
Wonderful. So we still have about half an hour left on the call, which leaves us plenty of time to open up the line to the next person who'd like to share a struggle, obstacle, or even a milestone to get the input from the group. So who'd like to share next?
Well, hey, the newbie's just like jumping in. Well, hi everybody. my name's Christy, and so one of the things that I say in my definite major purpose statement, and I'm organized and I pre-plan my days in advance, so this is my struggle. I'm a successful person. God help me if I actually plan the shit that I'm going to do and like was focused and organized about it, because it's like the sky's the limit. So it's not that I never plan, but I really don't plan my day. Whenever I have, even if I think of it from the Big Rocks type of a 7 Habits of Highly Effective People type thing, I just have always had a more productive time. And it's like I'm embarrassed to even talk about it, because I'm a grown woman and I'm feeling like I'm being a little kid. And it's like, what can anybody tell me other than to just do it type of thing? But I'm still saying it anyways. Actually, maybe this is it. I do suffer from that instant gratification, like I want it now type of thing. And so I realize that I don't take the time, and none of this is logical. I don't take the time to plan my day or what I really want to accomplish that day in the various areas. Somebody mentioned the wheel, because I just want to start my day. It's like in my head, I know these are the things I want to work with, maybe super big categories. But I'm really cheating myself out of like this focus, because I'll jump on Facebook or something like that, because I don't have these are the 6 key things that I want to get done. And so maybe what it is I'm seeking the gratification of just acting now. I'm just kind of going with it instead of disciplining myself to pause. If anybody has any feedback on that, then that would be great. But that has been that is one of my struggles. Yes.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind, Christy, is something that Tony says, which is that we all do things for one of 2 reasons, either to seek pleasure or avoid pain. So my guess is you're making a very short-term decision to seek pleasure, and probably you associate. You have a neuro association that says planning is painful, and so you're putting that off. So you're seeking something short-term that gives you pleasure, and it's kind of working for you on one level. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. And then you're avoiding this other thing that you see as, relatively speaking, more painful, and therefore not doing it. So if you want to change it, the key to changing it is to change the neuro associations. Change what you associate pain and pleasure with, if that makes any sense.
That does make sense. That makes a perfect sense. Because if I stack a whole bunch of pain with not planning, human nature, you're going to run from pain. You're more apt to avoid pain than go get pleasure. Although in my case, that's great. Thank you for saying that, because I haven't gone through and really thought about that, and that's something that I could do to stack up. It's kind of like if you're playing cards, like you're playing poker or something. I have the chance to make my own cards, so why not stack the deck in my favor type of thing? That's a really good point.
Yeah, and that's really dealing with it on an emotional level. And the way you started talking about it was talking about it logically. And you're right. Anybody could tell you the logical reasons. I mean, there's books written on planning. Like, I think there's even a title that says if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And all those things are true, but that's not going to be enough to convince you.
I get that. That's great. I'm gonna take that away. I'm going to make a list and really get centered emotionally. You know, like Tony's always like doing his fist and, you know, having us set up so that we can get it in our being, because the physiology first type of thing. So I'm definitely going to go through that exercise, and I don't know what the right way of communicating, if it's the main group, but I will let people know, like, by Wednesday how it's going.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. And the only other thought I'll interject here is when you go do that thing first thing in the morning, and let's say you open Facebook instead of doing the thing that you set as your priority, you should create a neuro association for yourself that says, I'm cheating myself right now. Why? So you start to establish that negative association with doing that at that moment in time. It's not that going on Facebook's a bad thing, because it's not. It's fine. But the question is when you do it, and when does it fit into the priorities that you've set for yourself.
So you saying that just made me think of something that's like so ridiculous and funny, and I think will work. So in UPW, there was this talk about, so what you're saying is changing that association. And then when I go to check the Facebook, like the first thing I do when I wake up is remind myself that I'm cheating. And so I just thought of this funny thing that I could do, which is when I go to pick up my phone to like see my message or whatever, I could just say, cheater, 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 cheater. Like, you know what I mean? How, like, silly that is? As, like, a trigger of, hey, today is your life. How do you want to lead, inspire yourself and others today? Plan that shit out, and then go look at your Facebook. So I'm gonna add that.
That's awesome.
Hi, this is Stephanie. I wanted to just share what I do, because I do fight the temptation to check my Facebook right away when I wake up, and it's my way of communicating. I feel like it's just my way of feeling connected to people. And so what I have done is I have set reminders on my calendar with my incantations or with my set intentions for the day. Sorry, I just got done working out. I was multitasking because I've got a really busy day. But what I do is I have, Tony's incantation, now I'm the voice, pop up at 6:30 a.m. every day. And I have the 2 millimeter incantation that comes up as a reminder every day at a certain time. And that way, it's the first thing that I see when I wake up. So instead of focusing on what everybody else is doing, it's kind of like going inside and making those statements. And then I go into, probably about a 20 or 30-minute meditation. That takes a lot of discipline. It doesn't happen every day, but I have those incantations, and then I move into my meditation that helps me to really set my intention for the day. So I don't know if that helps, but that really does, for me, takes me away from wanting to disappear in Facebook.
I so appreciate you sharing that. That is, you are somebody I aspire to be. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Christy, also, I stopped leaving my phone in my room, so now I have it on a different level overnight. And because I used to do that, I'd get up, I'd go on my phone, go on Facebook, and I found my energy was like, blah. So now it's immediately when I wake up, I start with, the priming. And in lieu of meditation, like Stephanie does, it's just I will get up and I will focus my day on, I'll do my 15 minutes of priming, and that sets the tone, and then when I'm done with that, if I, want to take a break from Facebook, but I've already set the tone for the day. That helps me also. If your phone's not next to you until you actually go downstairs, you're not going to go on it.
Yes. I need to buy a little alarm clock that I can set, because I like to set it for, 6:12 or something very specific. And so I need to get a little alarm clock that I use instead of my phone. Well, great. Thank you, everybody.
That's awesome. Great conversation.
So we still have some more time on the call to bring up another person's milestones or obstacles or questions. So who would like to share next?
This is Michelle. I don't really have anything to share, but I have a question. I was in a 100-day challenge, and we formed mastermind groups, but they was all just, we didn't really have anyone leading it, so we kind of figured out how to do it on our own. And it was kind of choppy. I felt like we all kind of got overwhelmed. My group got overwhelmed at the beginning, and we weren't really clear on our goals, et cetera, et cetera. So what I'm thinking about for this, for this new group is it smart to just do, when we form our group, have one goal to start with, or one or two goals, and then we'll have accountability within the group. If we say, okay, here's my goal, and I have to do these steps this week, is that kind of how it's going to be tailored?
Not quite so much. What we found, my experience has been, and I think Charles will probably echo this as well, it's Victor speaking, is that, people have different obstacles in their life that are preventing them from moving forward. And, if we take a particular group and we make it focused, let's say, on, let's say internet marketing, for example, and we can share all of the best practices on the planet in terms of internet marketing, that's probably not going to be sufficient for someone to take their business to the next level, because it's probably not the lack of internet marketing knowledge that's holding them back. It's usually something else. One of the things that I've learned is that in order to be successful at anything, and this came from a book called Switch, written by two brothers named Chip and Dan Heath. If you haven't read the book, I recommend it. Again, the book is called Switch. And basically what the book says, they're two professors, one's from Duke University, the other one's from Stanford. And they've done a ton of research. And what they found is that in order to be successful at anything in life, you need three things. You need the knowledge and direction, number one. Number two, you need the emotional drive. And connected with that, you need to eliminate the emotional obstacles. And number three, you need the right environment. And it's not enough to have 1 out of 3 or 2 out of 3, you need all three. So, for example, if your goal is, let's say, to be, a ninja internet marketer, you can get all the knowledge and direction, you can read all the information, but if you have some fear that's preventing you from doing something, you won't be successful. Or if your environment, you're not hanging out with other crackerjack internet marketers, you're not going to be successful. If the people you're hanging out with, are let's say, greeters at Walmart, not to belittle greeters at Walmart, but it's not the right environment. You're not going to be successful as an internet marketer. You need to hang out with other internet marketers. If your goal is to be a real estate developer, hang out with real estate developers. If your goal is to be fill in the blank, hang out with those people. So you gotta create that environment for yourself, and you can't just hope that it's going to happen. And so I think the mastermind group is part of that environment. It's part of creating that environment. Now, not everybody in the group is going to be in the specific skill set that you're looking to develop, but hopefully by getting 10 or so people on the call, there's enough diversity within the group that you can satisfy a breadth of needs, because everyone's needs at different points in time are different. So those are my thoughts on why the mastermind works, keeping it a little bit, we have a structure, but without making it too directed, if that makes sense. I don't know, Charles, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you're sharing. The key thing about having the smaller groups is as the groups evolve, people start to get to know each other a little bit better, and then there's a bit more of a trust factor in there, and it actually starts to evolve the group to a much higher level where there's a lot more accountability. The challenge with right now is people are still apprehensive of bringing things up and don't know each other, so that's a process that we just kind of work through the first couple phone calls with the individual groups. But, what you'll find is as the groups start to form and you start to build that bond with each other, you start creating a team environment. And the nice thing about a team environment is that you start bringing things up and actually working together and being encouraging and actually looking forward and being excited to sharing what you plan on working on next and what you're committed to doing. Like right now, we're not really asking for commitments out of the members. So, we ask them, what is the milestone, obstacle, or challenge that you're planning on working on? And we give some feedback, and then the person goes, yeah, great, that was really helpful. One of the questions that ultimately we're going to be incorporating is, great, so what is the, first or second or two or three things that you plan on doing between now and next week to make that shift or to create that change? Because it's one thing to get information, but it's also another thing to actually implement it. And to implement it, you actually need a plan. And the plan has to come from the individual that could be executing that plan. So there's a few processes that we're going to be working through and implementing through the group as it evolves. The key thing is just to start with baby steps, which is getting people familiar with the process and getting people comfortable with sharing, and then start to add additional pieces to the recipe to strengthen it. But again, it does come down to having, a strong facilitator for the mastermind calls, which is why Victor and I are committed to being on the calls for the individual groups to make sure that they are being facilitated well and get them started off well and to be part of that process.
The other part that's... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking how much of a commitment that you both are putting into this group, and it's really it's really impressive, and I appreciate it, and it's so exciting. So that's all I wanted to say.
Well, thank you. That's nice to hear. One of the things that is also in the future. One of the things that has been extraordinary for me from a relationship building standpoint. We hold a couple of events a year that are actually offline events. I mean, what we're doing here is online for all intents and purposes. But we also hold a few offline events that are pretty high level. For example, we held one back in January. We had about 20 attendees. This was held in Las Vegas, where we had a keynote speaker. Turns out the keynote speaker was Wayne Allen Root, who was a former vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party in the 2008 election. He's part of the he's very active in federal politics. Very interesting guy to learn from. The one before that was held in the fall in October. We actually had about 20 people meet at the Trump Winery. So the Trump family have a winery in Charlottesville, Virginia. We met for 2 days, was face-to-face mastermind, and then on the third day, we actually went out into the vineyard and participated in the harvest. It was a super, super cool activity, and then we had a conference call with Eric Trump as well, because Eric, one of Donald's sons, is responsible for the operation of the winery. So we do these other events as well. Now those ones cost money, obviously because there's travel involved and all that kind of stuff. But there's also other opportunities to meet and network with other entrepreneurs who are very successful in their own businesses and learn from them, which is to me, one of the really cool things about the whole mastermind process as well. And that's helped further my business significantly. So that's something that we can look forward to, and there's no pressure obviously to participate in any of those, but it's something that's there, and if it fits, great, and if it doesn't, that's fine too.
So I have another newbie logistic question. Is the mastermind call that we're on right now, is this the big call, which is not the segmented 10 people call? And the second part is the Facebook group UPW Mastermind. Is that going to stay intact, or is that going to break off into these little sub mastermind Facebook pages?
So we will be breaking it up into smaller groups because for the actual individual calls, we will not continue having a single call with like 30 to 50 people because that's a lot of people to have on one call, and it's less effective, frankly. We can't get into the kind of depth that you can get with a smaller group of people, and it's more difficult to develop the depth of relationships with 50 people on the call than if you only have 10. So we will be breaking it up into the individual calls. I think the mastermind group, the big Facebook group, I think there's value in keeping that because we are a community and we're kind of involved in the same thing. But there will also be individual Facebook groups for each of the small focused calls. So those are my thoughts. What do you think, Charles?
Yeah, so I agree that we should keep the UPW Mastermind Facebook group going because it's just a nice chance for all the groups to share their collective insights amongst each other. So it just creates a larger community setting. Now, there are already 4 individual mastermind groups, and they're called UPW Mastermind Group A, B, C, and D, and we're going to be renaming them once the groups actually start having their calls, and the groups themselves will come up with a cooler, hipper name. And I think I mentioned that at the beginning of this call. So if you are part of that already, you would have probably already got a message from me and have already joined the group. If you're not part of that yet, by all means, email myself or Victor on Facebook, and I can make sure that you're in the process. Because have you already filled out the intake survey and the scheduling on Doodle.com?
I filled out the time schedule. I don't recall the survey part, so I don't think I did that yet.
Okay, sorry, and your name is?
I'm Christy Watkins.
Okay, I'll have to go through the groups because I'm pretty sure I've already slated you in a group, so you may not have seen the message, or but I'll double check.
This is Debbie. I had a question in regards to your input on finding an accountability partner. If you think that it might be more effective if it's somebody within your mastermind group, or if it might be better if it's somebody outside of there. If you had any opinion on that.
In my experience, there's 2 ways to do it. One is to get an accountability partner. That's kind of a peer activity where you make the decision to hold each other accountable. In my experience, that works sort of, in the sense that it works initially, but you develop a relationship, and as time goes on, you typically tend to cut each other some slack. So, well, I won't call you out on this because if you don't call me out, if you don't call me out next week when I stumble. So, my experience, accountability partners works for a period of time, and of course it doesn't cost any money, so it's attractive from that point of view. But in the long term, my experience is they don't work that well. What I find works better is to actually hire an accountability coach, and it's not an expensive process. There aren't a ton of them out there. There's a few, and typically the cost is a couple of $100 a month. But if that keeps you on track, I mean that's worth 10 times what you pay for it, and you get a much, much better result. That's been my experience. But if you haven't done any accountability work before, then by all means start with an accountability partner so you get at least some familiarity with the process. Or if you're really committed, then hire an accountability coach. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, that makes total sense because I have had accountability partners before, and that's exactly what happens. You start cutting each other slack, and then neither one of you are really accomplishing what you want to accomplish. So, thank you.
You're welcome. And I'll put a plug in here, and I know that the purpose of this is not commercial. We've set this up 100% free, and this is not for me at all. Charles is an accountability coach. That's one of the things that he does. So if this is something that's of interest, contact him. He's really good, and I think you'll get some great results. So I'll do a little commercial plug for Charles here, but that really is the best process. Now, Charles is not my accountability coach. He's not paying me for saying this. My accountability coach is a gentleman out of Toronto who works with Olympic athletes. I'm just sharing with you my experience. Okay.
So I am looking at the time. It's the end of the hour, and I want to be mindful of people that obviously have other commitments that they need to get to. So with that being said, I want to kind of wrap up the call and mention that this is the final large group call, but I by all means continue conversing on the UPW Mastermind Facebook group. And starting next week, we'll be having the individual group calls, and those times and dates have already been set. So by all means, go to those groups, and I will be doing some follow-up invites for creating the actual events. So you'll see them come up in your notifications, and I'll also send the groups individual messages to make sure that you're aware of your call times, and then we'll be on the call next week to get them started.
And if you're not in a group, reach out to Charles, and you're not 100% sure what to do, reach out to Charles, find out what steps you need to go through in order to get into one of the groups. Okay?
Very good.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thanks. Bye for now.